things of that nature. And I'm not a governmental conspiracist, although I do believe there are certain things that happen in our nation that are totally governmental conspiracy driven. I haven't forgot Tulsa. Yeah, I haven't forgot, Black Wall Street. I haven't forgot, Rosewood. I haven't forgot places like that. I haven't forgot the COINTELPRO programs. Haven't forgot about things like that in this country. But this particular case kind of it kind of wakes us up a little bit. And for those of you who are blessed to be listening to this particular show, this particular segment, I want you to listen real close because I have James Moss on the line, and there's a lot going on surrounding him and his case. And tomorrow is scheduled to be a game changer for him. Game changer. And so I want to get in it, talk to him a little bit, and then leave it up to you as to how you ought to respond. So let's do it. I want to bring on the first time on Deon Evans Live, Truth, Raw, and Uncut, Mr. James Moss. James, how are you doing?
I am doing good, Mr. Evans. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, my friend. Glad to have you on Deon Evans Live. Just got hold of you today. Heard about your work over the last 48 hours, some of the things that's been going on with you and things of the nature. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to begin this conversation? What do you want the people to know about you and what's going on with you?
Well, the first thing I want the people to know, Mr. Evans, is that it's not just me. This happens to black men in America every day. Innocent black men without financial means end up convicted of crimes that they did not commit.
I agree with you 100%. We know it's true. We've seen it happen on several occasions. It happens so much to the point that I think we as African Americans don't think we can fight it. And
Right.
oftentimes when we do fight it, we fight in a way that doesn't change the policies, that don't change the actual system that's broken. And so, James, I'm sitting here and I have, my God, I must have at least 6 to 7 different articles from different sources on your particular case. Most of it is just regurgitated garbage that came out of a press release from the Department of Justice. Now, whenever we talk about the DOJ and things of that nature, you're either getting a grant, you're getting hailed at something, or they are after you for something. In your particular case, they have been after you for something. Yeah. And you're there in Alabama. We have listeners in Alabama. We got a great colleague in Alabama, and Dennis Lathan, to whom we're trying to get him involved in trying to find out how to help out with this information. You, James Moss, own a tax preparation company. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Called Flash Tax.
Yes, sir.
And you got yourself in some trouble with the law, and some even suggest that this is a railroad job, government against, a minority Christian businessman. Now, I've heard other people say that you're Christian. Do you identify yourself as Christian?
Oh, absolutely. I was raised in a Baptist church, and I continue to go to this day.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So we know that the prayers of the righteous availeth much. That's a good thing. Tell me, when did you know that the Department of Justice was curious or interested in what you do professionally as a businessman?
Back in 2007, I became aware of, keep in mind, my tax service is very large, 13 locations, hundreds of millions of dollars a year in refunds. It's just a very large tax service. I had 40 employees, 13 locations, and was doing fairly well. We were located throughout the state of Alabama, and I started to get word that 3 of my employees were doing something illegal. So I asked them about it, then they confessed to what they were doing, told everything that they did. They had stole Social Security numbers from a company called EDS that manages Medicaid or Medicare services. and they would make false um, tax returns for those people, and they would keep the money and split it with the girl that was stealing the Social Security numbers from EBS.
So wait a minute. You had an employee who you were able to catch who was operating within your firm. They were stealing people's identification via their Social Security numbers and then forging forward tax returns, faking tax returns. You were able to catch it within your 13 branches. You were able to catch it and then did what with it?
I went to the IRS and and told them what was going on and offered them. All my locations had police officers in them. They also had video and audio surveillance over every tax preparer, so you could see and hear everything that they did. Mm-hmm. When the young ladies confessed to what they were doing, I went back and pulled the video from those and offered that to the IRS. I did not have any interest in them going to prison. They confessed to what they did, and I felt they were genuinely sorry for what they did. And they had lost there. And because my jobs were good jobs. I paid all of my employees $50,000 a year plus. They all had 401k, Blue Cross Blue Shield for health insurance. I treated my employees like they were made out of gold. So they were very hurt that they were going to lose their jobs. But they did confess to what they did.
Now, in confessing to what they did, you did the next thing. You didn't do like Penn State, try to find a way to cover something up. You actually went to the authorities, even though they confessed it. You actually went to the authorities to make sure that proper proceedings would be handled so that you wouldn't be found in violation or in cover-up. Am I hearing this correctly?
Well, not only myself, I had 37 other employees to look out for and their families, people that hadn't done anything wrong. So I was more concerned about my employees and my company than I was about myself personally. I would have been all right, but a lot of my employees depended on their jobs, and this was their life.
Mm-hmm. And so you go to the IRS, you report these employees who have done fraudulent, deceitful practice under the cover and not associated with what you do, but within the confines of their employment with you. What happens next, Mr. James Moss?
The young ladies did sworn depositions with the company's attorney. They did sworn depositions and saying that myself, they told it all, how they split the money up, who got what, who was involved. They told everything that they could possibly get. While they were feeling guilty about it, they told it all. They said that myself and that the manager of their location had no knowledge, and that if he would have known, they would have been fired. He was just a good guy like that, and I have no doubt that he had no idea. They were using things like he would audit their files after work. So everyone that they would do, they would get fake drivers. They had someone at the Department of Motor Vehicles making real driver's licenses for these fake files.
Wow. There's a lot of stuff
really going on. And over the course of 3 years, they admitted to stealing nearly $500,000.
So nearly $500,000 has been stolen. This is money that is stolen from the government. And how many employees pulled this off?
3. There were 3 employees.
Now, how did these 3 particular employees, how did they get together? Did they all know that they were doing this? Were they 3 working in cahoots, but yet under the umbrella of your organization? Were these people hired at the same time, relatively around the same time? How did these 3 individuals come together to try to pull off this heist of $500,000 in fraudulent tax returns?
What they did, there was a young lady that from outside of the company that worked at that electronic data systems. She approached them with this idea and talked one of them into doing a few tax returns. That person did a few tax returns, split that $10,000 with her, and saw that it was so easy to do and not get caught. they were able to talk two more tax preparers into doing the same thing. The young lady not only had those three tax preparers at my tax service, she had preparers at tax service all throughout the Southeast doing the exact same thing.
Wow. I'm talking to James Moss. He is the owner of Flash Tax in Montgomery, Alabama. 13 different branches, locations, all of his employees. He says he pays them $50,000. He is taking care of families, taking care of families. Let's get further into it. Sooner than later, things start to turn in this particular case against these three employees. Walk us through it, James.
Okay. What happened was after I turned that information over to the IRS and offered them the videos, I emailed you one of the videos. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but the videos showed them slipping those tax returns or tax refunds behind their back into their purses and just generally stealing. That's exactly what they were doing. They were stealing these tax refunds, and they would take them and split them with that young lady from EDS.
So let me get this right. A woman from EDS convinces a few people who are tax preparers and they happen to work for you to participate in a fraudulent calculated scheme whereby they're getting Social Security numbers and then somehow getting connected with the DMV to get fake driver's license for people. Tax returns are coming to your offices. They're taking the tax returns and then taking these fake IDs, cashing the checks, and these checks were cashed up to $500,000. Did I hear this right?
They weren't really checks. They were ATM cards that they could just take to an ATM machine. They would steal the ATM card before the tax return even came in, and then go to the ATM machine when the tax return came in, take the money out $500 at a time, and split it with the lady from EDS.
Wow.
Yeah, they really had a really good scam going on, but somehow the IRS got wind of what they were doing, but they were mistaken. They thought the girls were selling dependents to people. They were selling these Social Security numbers. Well, when I asked them, they told me what they were doing and confessed to what they did. After that, after turning this information over to the IRS and offering them unfettered access to my tax service, the police officers that worked there, anything that they needed, the video drives, I spent $1,300 of my own dollars to make the IRS a direct copy of that entire year of tax. And you can see everything that happened at that tax service. Everything, every customer, every minute of every day is recorded on video and audio. You can hear what every customer has to say. You could hear them scheming and scamming. You can just hear everything.
Now, let me ask this question. Again, James Moss, he is the owner of Flash Tax out of Montgomery, Alabama, 13 different locations, and Christian brother, and he is in a heap of hot water. Let me ask this question, James. Were you just complying with the IRS by turning these tapes and these documents over, or was this you trying to get out in front of the problem to ensure that it was isolated among the people who had already shared their transgressions?
Absolutely. I wanted to put end to what they were doing. I offered to repay the IRS the money that they stole. I just wanted my 37 other employees and my company to keep going and doing the good works that we were doing.
Now, they stole nearly $500 or approximately $500,000. How is that the type of money you were talking about paying back to the IRS, even though you didn't steal it, but they stole it? Was that the kind of money? And if so, how are you going to pay that back?
Oh, this is a very large tax service. It's 10,500 customers, and our customers are coast to coast. We were generating $1.6 million a year in tax fees. So
that's
paying
just
them
tax
back
fees. You said 1.6 million in tax fees.
Yes, sir.
So you're not even talking about the other monies that come in via preparing taxes and all that kind of stuff.
No, that's the money for preparing people's tax returns.
Oh, okay. So you were doing 1.6 million in just preparing tax returns.
Right.
Wow, man, that's you were handling business. Now you come from a military background. As a young man, you spent time in the military. You served this country. Talk about that real quick before we move forward. I want people to know this angle of your life also, because you're not some guy who's just a numbers runner and was doing it in taxes. You're a military man also.
Yes, sir. I served in the Army. I joined at a very young age. I actually dropped out of high school and became a chemical operations specialist for the United States Army. I had an accident and was shot in the leg, so I wasn't able to keep up with the running that I had to do in the U.S. Army. So I was asked for a transfer to the Navy because, the Navy guys don't really do a whole lot of running and all those kind of things. So that's what I did. I ended up in the Navy, but because I had dropped out of high school, I had to take the lowest job the Navy had to offer. I literally, I would paint ships and hang off the side of them, painting ships and doing those kind of the most menial job you could possibly have in the military. So that's how I started off. But I always wanted to be an air traffic controller, and so I worked my way up, got my GED, and I became an air traffic controller.
Wow.
For the military.
We're back, Dion Evans Live, Truth Raw and Uncut. And let me tell you, this is a very, very necessary interview we're having today. And I'm so grateful to have James Moss on the line with me, because by this time tomorrow, James Moss's freedom may be no more. And if you're like me and you're listening to this story, and I'm personally, for those of you who may know anything about this case, I'm purposefully not talking so much about the stuff that's there, but wanting James to share his side, because I'm amazed at how a story like this, the only thing we're finding on the websites are things that are pretty much condemning towards him. I mean, I don't even see other journalists or other news sites that are reporting like both sides interviewed James and James Moss said this, or this is what another person in his company said concerning him. I'm not seeing none of that, but I have heard from so then people started sending me information. One of my own colleagues here at RMG sent me information on this subject, and I said, you know what? I got to look into this. I got to find out what's going on. And the more I read, the more of the sources I started looking at, the more of the people who I'm seeing are doing the writing and doing the reporting, I start to wonder, wow, all the Department of Justice has to do is send out a press release making some statements, and then everybody else follows like sheep. What if the Department of Justice is wrong? And when I hear about 3 people who are guilty of something, all of a sudden taking deals with the Department of Justice in order that they may turn over somebody whose only, I guess, misstep in all of this is actually trusting the IRS with the truth. Now he's looking at facing time, serious time in prison, and separation from his family. And this is a man who served our country. Let's bring him back to the line, James Moss. James Moss, he is the owner of Flash Tax that has successfully been destroyed through these encounters. Let me ask this question real quick. James, you're there with me?
Yes, sir.
Now, out of Avada, Chiquita, and Melinda, the 3 that came together who were approached by the IRS or went to the IRS, of those 3, have they been tried before a court of law, or did they plead out?
2 of them pled out. Remember, the deal was supposed to be that they would not be charged at all.
Right.
But the IRS could not have got me. They're trying to put me in prison for 16 years.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, I've never had more than a speeding ticket in my entire life. But they're trying to make an example and put me in prison. And, I'm a single father. I 16 years away from my children. I have a 14-year-old here at home with me. My other two sons, they're 19 and 17. They're in the military. One's leaving for the military. One's already in the Air Force. But my 14-year-old, I have no idea what I'm going to do with him and what's going to happen to my child after tomorrow.
Now, because you brought up tomorrow, and I'm looking at, man, you have a 14-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old, and you are facing some serious potential consequences on tomorrow because it has come back. And you didn't have a jury trial. You had a judge trial, correct?
No, I wish I would have had a judge trial. I had a jury trial. There were only two black people on the jury, and it was just a disaster. The government used, like I said, again, we're here in the South, so they used a lot of economic envy, a lot of lying people getting on the stand. Uh, a lot of people don't like to see a successful black man in Alabama. Like you said, if I would have been in California or New York City or someplace like that, this would have never happened.
No, it wouldn't have happened. If anything would came close, wouldn't have been anything like this. You
Right.
were prosecuted by tax division trial attorneys, three of them: Charles Edgar, Thomas Krepp, and Michelle Peterson. When you were in court, did you literally have to face three trial attorneys trying to convince a jury and a judge regarding your case?
Uh, it was far more than the three trial attorneys.
Wow.
There were three. The team that the government had was a football team. It seemed like I was facing the Detroit Lions or something. They had revenue agents. They had IRS agents. They had all these other people assisting them with witnesses. I literally it was myself and my attorney facing this army of IRS and Department of Justice.
So your attorney is just your personal attorney that you've had since prior to this?
No, I actually hired him because I could no longer afford the law firm that I had. Like I said, when the IRS put my company out of business, it really hurt. And my attorneys before that, a big law firm here in Montgomery, Capel and Howard, they wanted $100,000. I did not have $100,000 to give them.
Wow.
So I ended up getting a defense attorney, a pretty decent one by reputation, but he charged me $20,000. But
you're still talking about a much smaller, and I'm not trying to condemn your attorney. Praise God for what they sought to do in giving you a proper defense. But when you have when you're fighting fire with butane, you're gonna get burned up.
Right, and I got burned up. There's no doubt about it. The government overwhelmed them with just so much paperwork. First of all, most people know very little about tax returns. So these people on the jury are about to fall asleep.
Wow.
So they know very little about tax returns. It's boring as can possibly be. And in the end, they were just ready to get out of there.
How long did the trial take?
It took 7 days.
7-day trial. So I guess that be over a period of 2 weeks. How long did it take for the jury to come back with deliberations and a verdict?
It took less than a day.
Less than a day.
Yes, sir.
Wow. James Moss, he's my guest here on Dion Evans Live. We'll be taking some of your calls real quickly, 510-251-1274. James, I hate that I got a story like this late in the ball game, but you're facing something tomorrow, man. And if nothing else, the people of God need to pray and see what the Lord will do. How can we, number one, what are your thoughts going into tomorrow? What are you facing tomorrow? What time are you going to be at the court? What are you up against tomorrow?
The hearing starts at 10:30 tomorrow, and those same attorneys that you mentioned are putting on their A game. They're coming in with all of these tax returns and all these exhibits and all those kind of things, and they're just outright, uh, uh, they're just lying. Um, in their sentencing memo, they put that I ruined those three girls' lives. Not that they ruined the 37 people that worked at FlashAx, but I ruined their lives.
And so where is the public outcry of those who were buying homes and were buying their cars and putting their children through private school and things of that nature? Where are those people? Are they coming forward to testify of your character and that and to hold you up during this time? Or is this one of those situations where the mice are gone, they just do what they want to do, and they just leave everything as they were because it was a job to them?
Very few of them had the courage to get up on the stand and say the truth. They were threatened by the IRS, and I literally mean subpoenaed witnesses. One of my subpoenaed witnesses was literally threatened by an IRS agent that if she got on the stand, they were going to charge her with perjury.
And yeah, and people are so afraid of the IRS. I mean, when
And for
a
good
when a
reason.
document comes to your home, when an envelope comes to your house with the IRS on it, unless you are expecting a check, you get nervous.
That's the truth.
I had something came in the other day, and it was nothing but a reminder of something. I was like, woo. I don't know what y'all want. I don't even want y'all to know my address, but nonetheless, they know how to send you stuff, and it's a very amazing situation to get yourself involved in when there's this organization that many do not understand, but yet you're having to fight this uphill battle. So, what's the best case scenario for tomorrow's hearing?
Oh, it's really going to be the worst case. I am, unfortunately, I don't have the money to have my own attorney anymore. I have a public defender, and I'm going to be slaughtered. I am going to get 188 months in prison for something I had absolutely nothing to do with.
188 months. So that's around that 15, 16-year mark.
Yes, sir.
My God. Now, with a public defender, yeah, you are a sheep heading to the slaughter,
Yeah.
as Proverbs 7 says. How can people help you, man? There are people who are listening. They can feel you on this. How can people help you? And then how can I follow up with you?
I have I've set up a website. I've talked to an appeals attorney that has went through this case and has said that this is one of the largest disasters he's ever seen in his 40 years of practicing law. And he knows he can help me, but his fee is high. And I don't have the money to pay that type of fee for that quality of service. I know that if I continue on with these public defenders, I have no chance of appeal. I will be in prison for 15 years, 8 months. But if I can get this other attorney, I would be able to have a good chance of reversing this conviction. So I set up a website and asked for donations. It's www.jmdefensefund.com.
www.jm, with James Moss, defensefund.com. That's the actual website?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going ahead and I'm dropping that on my Facebook now for people to support, and we will continue to follow up. Now, is it possible that tomorrow you will be remanded by the court?
It's almost a certainty that I will be remanded by the court. The prosecution tried to do it last time when I was found guilty, which is a very unusual move on their part. But that was to shut me up and to keep me from talking to people like you to keep me from finding out things that they have done. And I know they wish they would have, because I have found out so many things since then. Like my attorney, that the one I was paying, lives next door to the IRS agent.
Wow. Wow.
So how I often wondered why he would not tear into these lies that the IRS agent was telling. Or there was one incident where they got a witness on the stand that he committed perjury, and I had the video evidence of him committing perjury. And that video had to be turned over to the IRS before the trial, so that they had to have copies of everything we had. There were a total of 19 videos. So all of them were turned over. So this man was on video, and they still let him get on the stand and tell his lies. That's suborning perjury. And now they're going after him like he did something wrong, and they didn't know anything about it.
Wow. There's so many layers to this. And for those of you who are listening across the world, this is what happens. Most of us desire success and will become successful, but there are other elements to consider about this level of success, and we should all shoot for it. But we have to support one another once we reach there, because there does not take much for people to snatch a rug out from under us and shake up all that we have built in the name of integrity and in the name of rightness. I believe we have a caller on the line. Am I correct? Let's go to our caller. We have a caller out of Millbrook, Alabama, Dennis Latham. Dennis, welcome to Deon Evans Live with my special guest, James Moss. Let's dig in.
Yeah, how you doing, Deon? And how you doing, James?
I'm fine, Dennis. How are you?
Okay, and let me apologize to you, but I know very little about your case. Just found out about it today. And as you know what it's like in Montgomery, Alabama, have you been on any talk radio shows in Montgomery, Alabama?
No one has been interested in my side of the story at all.
Hold it right there.
Until Mr. Evans called me, or Ms. Fitzgerald helped me. I was just, everybody believes the Department of Justice, and I'm just a nobody.
Okay.
I don't have that high-profile lawyer that's gonna put his spin out there.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple questions real quick. Sure. Are you familiar with the tax return place that was behind McDonald's on Southern Boulevard back in 2006?
Was that Premier Tax?
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Right there. Let me explain to you what's going on here. Even in 2006 and 2007, I went in to pay I went and did my 2006 and 2007 tax returns at the same time, because 2006 was only for about 4 months, and 2007 was for like about 11 months. So yes, I paid for 2 years, which was about $125 a piece, but I only got returns for 1 year. Okay, 2006, I still have the records and everything. I went to law enforcement. They did nothing. But let me explain to you, Deon. I'm very familiar with Montgomery, Alabama. As you know, I had a run-in yesterday morning with some things yesterday that we discussed another time. The point is that the DA, who is Ellen Brooks, has already been proven to be a crooked district attorney, along with the past Attorney General, Troy King, who is now no longer the Attorney General, but he has a law practice with King and Nix. Okay, I don't know anything about Nix, but Troy King was dirty in the past. He's still dirty now. And the thing is, it is very open season for law enforcement, for district attorney offices, and for forensics and investigators to rally together to get a conviction. That's all they're concerned about, whether or not the person is innocent or guilty. They get to a point where they don't care. They get something set in their mind, then they'll build up a whole team to follow through and
What a powerful first hour. Deion Evans Live, Truth Raw and Uncut. My special guest, James Moss. If you missed any part of that interview, you need to catch the re-air 4 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. Those of you on the East Coast, that's 7 a.m. Or you just need to order the CD or something, because this type of stuff is what's happening. Very seldom do you get to interview somebody who has gone through the type of situation that James Moss is going through. And I have to say, my heart goes out to a man with 3 kids, three sons, 14, 17, 19. Man who employed, 35 plus people. People buying homes, securing a good lot in life. Who did the right thing in his own business and got wind of a fraudulent situation that took place, and he didn't pull the Joe Paterno. He didn't pull the Eddie Long. He went to the authorities and allowed them to know this is what's going on. He took the 3 to be dealt with so that the rest, the 30 plus, could still maintain their living. And in the midst of that, sir, can we get this information from you? We're still following up on what you're telling us, not even realizing they're building the case against him, and they've convinced people. And how do you know that they've convinced these women to turn on this man? Because they're going to go to jail for 18 months. One got 6 months. He's going 15, 16 years. That's a fundamental problem that I have with law enforcement and detective work, is that you could take somebody guilty as sin, homemade sin, and because they're willing to say something for you because you want somebody else, yeah, I got major problems with that. So innocent people can go to jail because guilty people don't want to be in jail as long. Wow. Interesting. So very interesting. And yeah, I got an IM from somebody said, I'm mad as hell. And I think this person works for the IRS. And what about, and I got to praise God for Donna Williams, because she was able to capture James Moss's recommendation. And what was his recommendation? Let me get to it. Move out of the South. Race still matters. If you are successful, they are going to come after you at some point in time. Oh, yeah. You're in the South, Montgomery, Alabama, and you got a business doing tax preparation services for people in the community, and you're clearing $1.6 million annually. Yeah, you're changing the political, you're changing the economical, you're changing the social, you're changing the philanthropist. You are a change agent. And you know what's sad? Is a man who provided that type of service to the community is ultimately going to spend 3 times amount of jail time than all of the others going to jail who were the guilty ones. Something's wrong with that. And that the woman in the other department who actually helped concoct this scheme didn't even get arrested. Didn't even get charged. It's not justice, brothers and sisters. That's not justice. That's just us type stuff. I'm just saying. I want to commission Dennis Latham on behalf of RMG to catch up. He's got less than 24 hours to catch up with Mr. James Moss, and let's get some video work done. and then let's get it up and let's get it spread out. Let's get his story spread out. Again, I might as well drop his website again for those of you who like to support so he can get a lawyer to help, appeal this thing. jmdefensefund.com. www.jmdefensefund.com. Now, $5 here, $10 there, whatever. $5, $10, give something. Give something. I'm going to give something. I'm going to pray, and I'm going to give something today. Every little bit counts. And this is an opportunity for you and I to be on the right side of history. Think of it like this. There are people in this country who are giving money to George Zimmerman at the tune of $120,000, and that's before he lied about how much money he made on PayPal and got his wife caught up, and now she got a felony account. Or shall I say a felony count. And how did she get out of bail? With that PayPal money. And so, please, sir, please, ma'am, if you can do anything to help seek some sense of justice, some sense of proper due diligence, be a part of that side. I don't care if it's $5, you played your part. If you don't have any money, then you can at least pray. But if you're not praying and you're not giving any money, then I hope you're next. Because silence is not applicable here. Bystander apathy does not help a community. So let's do something. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All right, let's switch reels on Deion Evans Live, Truth, Raw, and Uncut. Drunken mother arrested after leaving 11-month-old baby on the top of the car and driving off. Please don't take that giggle as a laugh because that was a nervous gesture there. Drunken mother arrested after leaving 11-month-old baby on top of the car and driving off. Look, I don't even have to read the article yet. Can I just rub a little bit on the topic, on the actual, headline? Drunken mother. Okay, you're grown, you're over 21, you want to drink, drank a little too much, get it. No big deal. Arrested after leaving 11-month-old baby on top of the car. Wait a minute. You're a drunk mother who has an 11-year-old baby? Now that gives a little deference to you being a drunk mother. You ought to never be a drunk mother when you have an 11-month-old baby. Not only are you a drunk mother with an 11-month-old baby, you are a drunk mother willing to drive. Now you are a driving while drunk mother. And not only are you a driving while drunk mother, you are a driving while drunk mother with an 11-month-old in your custody. Let me stop right there. Drunken mother arrested after leaving 11-month-old baby on top of the car and driving off. Not only are you a drunk mother who is seeking a DUI with an 11-month-old, you put the 11-month-old baby on top of the car, not on the hood, not on the trunk, on the top, the highest peak of the vehicle. You put your baby on top